Hi, so today I'm going to show you how to make marble cake. And when you think of marble, usually like a marbled look in a baked good, usually you think it's like chocolate and vanilla together. But this actually is not. This Victorian era cake uses molasses and some dark spices like cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, as well as brown sugar. That's going to be the dark part instead of chocolate. So it's going to be a spicy cake, but it's really delicious. And let's get started. There's a lot of ingredients here going on that I already prepped. And first, I have this really neat silicone cake pan that I'm going to use. You know, you can use a bundt type pan. You can use two loaf pans or two like regular cake pans, but I really like the way this looks. And you don't have to grease it at all, because normally that would be the first step, is to grease it with some butter and then flour inside so the batter doesn't stick, but you don't have to do that. So I'm going to set this aside and just kind of show you some of the ingredients. So like I have the stuff for the dark part here. There's the cinnamon, allspice, and I also separated the eggs so that the egg yolks go into the dark part, and I've already sifted flour with some spices to and that's going to go in as well. I have some sour cream, and then the egg whites and flour, sugar, butter. So there's quite a bit of ingredients, which I will share this total recipe with you after class, but just to show you that there are quite a few things that you need to kind of get started with this recipe. And so then the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take the 4 egg whites, and we're just going to beat them until foamy, which is about 1 to 2 minutes. So I'm going to just come over here. Here's my beater. I'm just going to pour them in and until they were foamy, and you can see if I can kind of tilt this to show you. So they're just kind of this foamy kind of texture. And then I'm going to take a stick of butter, and I'm going to beat that for about a minute just to cream it so that it's nice and kind of incorporated. To take a cup of sugar, and I'm going to beat that in to mix it in with the butter. And I'm going to do it about a 1/4 cup at a time, and then letting about 20 to 30 seconds between each time that I add it, each addition. So I'm just going to go over to me and start adding. That's all mixed together, and now I'm going to add the milk and the egg whites to the butter and sugar mixture. So I'm going to come over here. Oops, my molasses is in the way there. So here's the egg. And then I have the 1/2 cup of milk. And when I start this up, I'm not going to do it at a high speed, because you don't want the milk to splash up when you're starting it out. So start it low. And then as it mixes together, you can increase the speed. And sometimes you need to scrape it down from time to time. That's mixed together pretty well. And now what I want to do is, I'd already sifted some cake flour and baking powder together, and I'm going to add that slowly a little bit at a time. And so cake flour, and it looks, this is just one brand here, King Arthur brand. It comes in all different ones, but it's softer than regular flour and doesn't have as much protein, so it really makes a much more tender cake. So I added the flour and baking powder, and so now I have this nice light cake batter, if you can see there. And now I'm going to make the dark part. So I need to mix my brown sugar, butter, and molasses together. So I have a cup of brown sugar here. You can see. It's going to go in. And I have this really nifty measuring cup for my molasses and other kind of sticky like syrups and stuff. And it's nice because then you can just kind of push it through like this, because it's often tough to get things that are sticky like this to come out of a measuring cup. So that's helpful. And then I'm going to take my stick of butter. So these are the 3 I'll mix in first. And then I'm just going to put this aside over there for now. So unwrap my butter. Okay, so I'll get them going together. And once they're mixed, I'm going to add the sour cream and the egg yolks. Okay, so I have, this is a 1/4 cup of sour cream. I already have it measured out here. I'm going to put that in. So it's not hard to make this cake. It's just all the kind of prep time ahead of time. It definitely does take some time, but it's well worth it, as you'll see. All right, so that's in there, aside. And now I need my egg yolks. So I have a lot of things on the counter here. So here's the egg yolks I already have measured out. So I'm going to add those in. And I'm going to mix them well together. Add 2 more cups of cake flour that I had sifted with some baking soda and spices. So as I mentioned, I had some cinnamon here and allspice, which is really so fragrant, nutmeg, and some ground cloves. So I'm going to add that a little bit at a time. And like I said, I had sifted those all together. So it looks a little darker than regular flour would look. And the same thing, you know, I just start this out kind of slowly so that the flour doesn't poof everywhere. And let it get all mixed together. And then we're going to combine the 2 in the pan. Okay, so now we have this darker component, and you can see it's definitely darker in color. And so then we're just going to combine them in the pan. In a second. In alternate intervals. So I have my silicone pan here, and I'm just going to start adding a little bit at a time. So I have the dark part. Let's make sure you can see there. A little bit of that. I'm going to get the light part. Add a little bit of that. You can see. Okay, and then once that's all done, so I'll show you, tilt this. Then we can run a knife through it to create a swirly pattern. It's going to look really nice. And you can be as fancy or ever as you want. And it's going to swirl together more as it bakes. Put that there. And then just some came over here. I'm just going to kind of clean that up a little bit, just so it looks. And so now we're going to put it in a 350-degree oven for about 50 to 60 minutes. I'll put it in for 50, and then I'll check in 5-minute intervals if it's not done yet, but I can test it with a toothpick. And then we'll see what it looks like when it comes out. Okay, so I actually had to bake the cake for a little bit longer than an hour because I tested it a couple times and the toothpick was not coming out clean. But now we're good, and I'm going to show you taking it out here. And I need 2 pot holders. And with the silicone pan, you just have to be kind of careful that it doesn't kind of over. Go. So now I'm going to just let it cool for at least a half hour, and then I'm going to turn it out, turn it out of the pan and show you how we can plate this cake. Nice baking dish that I, cake plate that I have. And so I just want to show you, to make it a little bit prettier, what we can do. And this is always kind of my trick, to put some nice confectioner sugar, just sprinkle it on. Makes it look really pretty. But you can see the nice swirly pattern that came out. It's really nice and swirled there. So just do that. And then we can cut a piece and put it on a really pretty plate too to go, but just so you can see that nice swirled pattern. And you can even put a little more confectioner sugar on there if you wanted to make it pretty. When you go ahead and serve it to somebody. So I hope you enjoyed this video and enjoy making this cake. Thank you.